Light is Britain's far-right conspiracy theory paper spreading hate and vicious lies. No, that's what the BBC say. The Light is the only national newspaper bringing you the real news and informed opinion on what's really going on today. You can subscribe, order copies, submit articles, and read back issues on our website, thelightpaper.co.uk, and see for yourself why the establishment are so worried about the uncensored truth getting out to people every month. The Light Paper. Not far right, just right so far. Thelightpaper.co.uk.
Scene script. Have you ever pondered the idea of financial independence and early retirement? The notion of not having to clock in at 9 or wrestle with the daily grind? Imagine a life where you're not shackled by financial obligations or a demanding job. It's not an impossible dream, but a reality for those who embrace the FIRE movement. That's financial independence, retire early. Consider the tale of Jane, a woman in her early 30s. Jane was an ordinary person living an ordinary life. She had a 9-to-5 job, a mortgage, car payments, and a lifestyle that was comfortable but hardly extravagant. And like most people, she dreamed of a life where she didn't have to worry about money. Jane decided to make a change. She began by cutting back on non-essential expenses, saving as much of her income as possible. She invested wisely, focusing on assets that generated passive income that didn't require her to trade time for money. Slowly but surely, Jane began to build her financial independence. She was still working, but she was no longer living paycheck to paycheck. She had a safety net, a cushion that gave her the freedom to make choices based on what she wanted, not what she needed. Fast forward 10 years, Jane, now in her early 40s, had achieved her goal. She was financially independent. She had enough passive income to cover her living expenses, and she no longer needed to work to survive. She was free to retire early, to spend her time as she pleased. Jane's story may seem extraordinary, but it's not unique. It's the story of anyone who has embraced the principles of the FIRE movement. It's a tale of discipline, of sacrifice, and of a relentless pursuit of financial independence. To summarize, the key points discussed today revolve around the idea of financial independence and early retirement. It requires discipline and sacrifice, cutting back on non-essential expenses and saving as much as possible. It involves investing wisely, focusing on assets that generate passive income. But most importantly, it requires a change in mindset. It's about seeing money not as a means to buy things, but as a tool to buy freedom. It's about understanding the true value of time and the freedom that comes with not having to trade it for money. This is the essence of the FIRE movement. It's not just about retiring early, it's about achieving financial independence, about gaining the freedom to live life on your own terms. Like Jane, you too can embrace the principles of the FIRE movement and embark on a journey towards financial independence and early retirement. After all, the only thing standing between you and your financial freedom is you.
Ever wondered how much you'd need to save to achieve financial independence? The answer lies within the mathematics of a concept known as FIRE, which stands for Financial Independence, Retire Early. The most essential number in your journey to financial independence is calculated by multiplying your annual spend by 25. Notice the emphasis on annual spend, not annual income. This calculation is based on the principle that you need £300 invested for every pound you wish to spend each month in passive income. Hence, your FIRE number is also your monthly spend times 300. This mathematical principle is founded on the 4% safe withdrawal rate, as defined by financial advisor William Bengen. He proposed this rate after analyzing the S&P 500, which typically produces an average of better than 10% growth per year when studied over a period of approximately 30 years. Bengen considered factors such as inflation and market volatility. After studying previous market activity, he concluded that a 4% rate of withdrawal per year would provide for a 30-year sustainable portfolio in the vast majority of cases. So to paint a clearer picture, if your monthly spend is £1,000, then your target for financial independence is 300 times 1,000, or or £300,000. Alternatively, if your annual spend is £12,000, your financial independence target is 25 times 12,000, which also equates to £300,000. The first step in planning your financial independence, therefore, lies in understanding your monthly and yearly expenditure. Without this knowledge, it is impossible to take further strides towards your financial freedom. In summary, the mathematics of FIRE revolves around the principle of multiplying your annual spend by 25 or your monthly spend by 300 based on the 4% safe withdrawal rate. Knowing your monthly and annual spend is crucial in determining the amount you need to save to achieve financial independence. Armed with this knowledge, you can then plan your journey towards financial freedom. Remember, the journey to financial independence is not a sprint, but a marathon. Embrace the mathematics of FIRE and take the first step towards your financial independence today.
Guys, good morning. It is 7:55 on Tuesday, the 17th of December 2024, and that means that we've got, I think it's 2 years and 36 weeks of this roughly 8-year FIRE journey completed, and yeah, we're getting close to Christmas. Christmas is Wednesday next week. So here's one potential reason that some people might want to retire early. Personally, I'm working Christmas Day and Boxing Day. But with that said, I do have 6 days off beforehand, and I will be having Christmas on Christmas Eve. Funny enough, actually, yesterday somebody was telling me that some Europeans do that as well. I think in Poland, Christmas is celebrated on Christmas Eve. So it's fine. But obviously, Christmas on Christmas Day is how it's normally done by British people, and yeah, if you are working, if you work in healthcare, for instance, then a working Christmas is not probably an alien concept to you. You've probably done it before or are about to do it this year. Guys, just while we're waiting for the market to open, let's just have a little look and see how things were left at the end of yesterday. So the current market price, £90.63, and as you can see there, down around about 0.1% at close yesterday. Now in a couple of minutes that'll reset and that'll go to zero, so I just wanted to get that out of the way right now. And then in terms of the portfolio itself, we've got 245 shares, and they are currently worth 22,270 odd. Current return on investment still up a little over 31%. Not quite at the third mark yet, but approaching it. Current average purchase price $68.86, and I think I'm right in saying that whereas last week I predicted it would go up 10p, it actually went up, was it 11 or 12? So let's say then if we add, we'll add 11 to that, so that would give it 68.97, I reckon, is where we'll be sitting at in terms of average purchase price after we complete today's purchase. As I say, a couple of minutes still remaining until market open. If we have a look at the notifications, I don't know if we'll see mention yet of the stock market closures for Christmas, but no, apparently not. I'm sure it's coming soon. So biggest stocks before earnings: Red Cat Holdings, Mama's Creations, Mytech Systems, Compass Minerals International, RCI Hospitality Holdings. Broadcom advances 9% building on Friday's rally as AI optimism reignites. Super Microcomputer dives 7% after losing its spot in the Nasdaq 100 index. So clearly, well, I'm not sure if the Nasdaq is quite the same. I suppose it probably would be. Probably similar to the S&P in as much as it's a self-cleansing index, and basically stocks that are not performing as well as the others that are at the top of the index fall off, only to be replaced by stocks that are performing better. And I mean, in terms of the S&P itself, whilst what I invest in is the S&P 500, the S&P itself has over 3,000 companies in it, and therefore the top 500 really is the top, the crop at the top, or the cream of the crop, whatever you want to call it. So they should be quite a good performing bunch. Right, things have shifted at the top here. There's been a slight decline. Market must be open, and we are showing an opening position there of down 1/3%, just at the moment. So let's go ahead. Actually, I'll just go ahead now and do our buy. If you do follow the channel, you'll know that each week I put in 120 theoretical pounds, because this is the practice account on Trading 212. But anyway, each week we put in £120 into the Vanguard S&P 500 exchange traded fund. So although it looks as if we are buying 1.3 shares, we are, but we're buying 1.3 shares of a basket of companies, a basket of roughly 500 companies. I always put this through as a market buy, and generally only trade when the market is open. So that has executed. We've got 1.32 shares at £90.38. We've maybe paid slightly more than would have been ideal, but there we go. It's only a matter of 5p. Let's have a look and see if things have updated. So yes, the number of shares that we own has gone up, so that suggests, and has the portfolio value as well. Now, did I say 68.97 for my estimated average price? I think I did. That's where we're at now anyway. I think it's actually slightly more than 11p, because I think this was a 0.2 and now it's a 0.7. So it looks as if it's roughly 11.5p each time we add in 120, with this kind of a disparity between the current purchase price and the average. And Yeah, so very, very little change, obviously, but then, of course, we're only influencing it by £120 on an investment of 22,000. It's quite a small amount, quite a small percentage, I suppose. Right, while I think about it, let's just draw your attention to this company.
I want a bank that makes money easy.
That sounds perfectly reasonable.
And you are?
We're a bank called Monzo.
I want a bank that shows me what I spend instantly.
No problem, just give us a go. See?
Can you make splitting bills easy?
Super easy, check this out.
But it's a real faff to sign up.
It takes less than 10 minutes.
Race you.
You're on.
Can I talk to a real person 24/7?
Of course.
Even now?
Yep.
Even now?
Anytime.
Can you tell me when I'm running a little low on cash?
We certainly can.
Cool. Can I afford these?
You certainly can't, sorry. Can't afford that either.
That's a real shame.
Not really. Time's up, how'd you get on?
It's a draw.
Can you help me save for my next holiday?
Oh, how about you set up a savings pot in the Monzo app called Barbados, baby?
Thanks for listening, Monzo.
We're all ears.
You can go now.
Rude. You make Monzo Monzo.
Okay, as I've mentioned before, I use Monzo myself. That's the account that I use for my normal day-to-day as my current account. I also have a savings pot within it. And I've not long set up an account as well for a child, which allows her to have her own card, a chip and PIN card, and allows me to set daily spending limits on it, to be able to monitor what's happening with her account, if anything. And the only downside, I think, really is that there doesn't, as far as I'm aware, there hasn't been at least interest attached to that account, and it would be nice. That's my biggest complaint, really, is that it would be nice for kids to be able to earn interest on the money that they have essentially saved. Although technically, the way it's set up, the child account actually belongs to the parent. It's a bit of a strange arrangement, but I suppose legally that's probably how it has to be done, given that the parent has so much control over it. So, yeah, as I say, I use Monzo to fund my Trading 212 account, and the thing that I really appreciate about it is that transactions happen straight away. Doesn't matter if it's the middle of the night, doesn't matter if it's the weekend, doesn't matter if it's a bank holiday. If you send money to someone, they will receive it straight away. And if there is any hold up, it would be on their bank's end of things, but I've not even experienced that. I have sent money to somebody abroad in the past and got it confirmed within seconds that they had received it through a thank you on WhatsApp. So it does work. It's pretty, as I say, it's instant, and it's fantastic from that point of view. I think we have covered pretty much everything. I mean, there's really nothing to say about the curve other than the fact that just look at that. It is really climbing, and actually there was one other day, I just remember I had made an attempt at a trend line just to try and see if I could sort of make sense of where the market had been, where I thought it was going, and maybe even where I thought it ought to be. Now, in creating my trend line, I suppose I looked at this little tail at the bottom, and I just wasn't sure that was really reliable. So let's sort of ignore that. But basically, other than that, what I would want to do is put a line pretty much through the middle of these highs and lows, to the point where I'm ending up with roughly half of the candles on the high side of the line, roughly half on the low side, and then see what that gives us. So I mean, if we were to start, say, here, I'm not sure whether you just drag it out, so keep your finger on the mouse and drag it if you're using a computer. You know, I mean, if you were to look at just this bit sort of before the up to the uncertainty, roughly something like that looks to be the direction of travel. Maybe even more like that. But then if you include the bit with the uncertainty, is it more something like that? And then if you were to take it to where it actually is now, let's maybe ignore the bit at the very top. Is it more that kind of an angle or an elevation? Now I would suggest maybe the line's slightly too high, but actually whenever I look at it, I mean, whenever you look at it, sort of, if you notice this bit here, the growth back out of COVID, if we take that up to about there, that looks as if that's actually pretty close to that bit. I think what I'll do is I'll set the line there, but I'll set the line roughly there, but I'm going to actually sort of click it down, if that makes sense, or drag it down a bit. So we're sort of saying that that's roughly the maybe it needs to be a bit more like that, does it? It's a difficult thing to do if you have a laptop or a computer. I suggest you give this a go yourself, just even for entertainment purposes. Try and see if you can work out where you think the trend should be. Now, there's something not pleasing me about it. I think maybe it is that actually, do you know what? I don't think that's bad. Let me just click off it. So as you can see, basically in the sort of the years 2017 up to about 2018, it looks as though you could suggest that the market was maybe a little overvalued, according to my line here. If we go by my trend line, then it was undervalued for a short time, and it's actually stuck pretty close to it up until COVID hit, and then obviously dropped during COVID. Then there was the V-shaped recovery, and then around about, when would that be? May 21, it sort of looks as if it had taken off before the uncertainty that seemed to start with the Ukraine conflict, and obviously then it stagnated for a while, resulting in the market being undervalued, and then whenever things started to improve again, roughly around about January this year, it has climbed back up through what you might have said was fair market value at the time, and it has continued on an upward trend ever since. And going by my trend line, if that is correct, that would mean that the market is currently quite overvalued. Now, that said, other people that are smarter than me have commented in the past that the market is always right. In other words, whatever the current market value is, that is fair market value. That is basically where price lands whenever you take into account a whole range of factors. And of course, what you can't actually see on the graph here is inflation. And of course, inflation tends to push the prices of everything higher, and it also devalues the money to a certain extent. And perhaps maybe because of inflation, or thanks to inflation, depending on what way you want to look at it, maybe we shouldn't actually be using a straight line. Maybe we should actually be using a bit of a curve. Now, if you were to say that that was the case, actually maybe this is more like what you might call fair market value. Who knows? But anyway, as I say, sometimes I like to do that sort of a thing just to try and get a feel for where I think things are at. Obviously, how you draw your line is all important. What you choose to take account of, what you choose to include or exclude, and you can draw all sorts of conclusions. But consider also, are there other things, other factors that you have maybe neglected? A wise man once said, in fact I think it was J.L. Collins once said that time in the market is more important than timing the market, and that's quite simply because it's impossible to time the market. I mean, even if you were to say that you think the market is currently overvalued, it's impossible to know when the correction, if there is to be one, might occur, how steep it might be, and how long it might last. All those things are up in the air. I mean, just to say, obviously, at the current time, there's an awful lot of factors that have the potential to influence the market, not least of which the BRICS alliance, which I think, let me just see if I can rhyme off the countries that even just make up the initials. So it would be Brazil, Russia, India, China, and I think Saudi Arabia. That would be I'm pretty sure that's the BRICS countries. And of course in the past they had talked about setting up their own currency, in essence, to enable them to trade, I suppose, between each other, without making use of the US dollar, which I think they probably had been doing for the most part up until relatively recently. So, if that were to happen, it's possible that might have had, that could have a bit of an effect on price. But then, of course, consider which companies are part of the S&P 500. There are massive global brands like Google, Tesla, Facebook. I think sometimes it's referred to as FAMAG, Amazon, Apple. That's maybe the top 5, is it? And those are global brands, so it doesn't really matter whether you're in Brazil, Russia, China, India. Those brands are present in all those markets, I would have thought, to a greater or lesser extent. And even though they are, for the most part, traded in dollars, there is kind of worldwide exposure in holding the S&P 500, thanks to the global nature of a lot of the big players in the market. Right, I think, guys, that is probably going to be pretty much it for today. I can't think of anything else I want to cover. But as I say, or as I always say, if you enjoyed this video, why not give it a like? And if you're interested in following the journey, please subscribe to the channel, and you should get notifications as I go live, or as I upload content. And any suggestions, comments, criticisms, feel free to leave them beneath, positive or negative. Constructive feedback's always preferable, but do you know what? Any feedback is possibly better than none. Ultimately, at the end of the day, yes, whilst I had set this up in the hope that it might prove useful to people working in the NHS with a view to becoming financially independent before they actually reach retirement age, I personally find it quite therapeutic, and I enjoy just keeping track of the market once a week. Helps me keep my hand in, I suppose, to a certain extent. And so I do anticipate making a broadcast on, I think it'll probably be Monday, just before Christmas. I expect the market probably will be open on Monday and Tuesday, possibly with an early close on Tuesday. That's Christmas Eve. But I think that remains to be seen. Guys, in the meantime, have a great Tuesday. And as I say, I hope to be back next Monday with more. And look after yourselves. Thanks for watching.